What transforms a wilderness into a society? What draws people across an ocean to face unknown dangers? In the Southern Colonies, the answer was a powerful mix of ambition, faith, and strategy. This is the story of how a search for economic riches led to the rise of King Tobacco, how a desire for religious safety created a haven for Catholics, and how a plan for a charitable new start also built a defensive wall for an empire. This is the story of how the unique geography of a sun-rich land shaped a distinct American way of life. This is the story of the Southern Colony. Don't forget to like and subscribe to continue enjoying history in a graphic format. Welcome to a land shaped by sun and water, a world away from the rock-bound coasts of New England. The Southern Colonies were a realm of immense natural flat wealth. Coastal plain, known as the Tidewater, offered rich alluvial soil, perfect for large-scale agriculture. Wide, slow-moving rivers served as natural highways, allowing ships to sail deep inland, connecting sprawling plantations directly to the sea and the markets of the world. Stretching from the Chesapeake Bay down to Georgia, the Southern Colonies, Maryland, Virginia, the Carolinas, and Georgia, developed an economy and a way of life deeply tied to this land. Unlike the compact towns and maritime trade of the North, this region's destiny would be shaped by single immensely profitable cash crops and the massive coerced labor force required to cultivate them. The climate was the engine of the South's economy. Long, hot summers and high humidity, combined with a short, mild winter, created an almost continuous growing season. This was a blessing for agriculture, but it also brought deadly challenges. Diseases like malaria and yellow fever, carried by mosquitoes thriving in the warm, wet conditions, were a constant threat to which early colonists had little immunity. It all began in 1607 at Jamestown, Virginia, the first permanent English settlement in North America. This venture was not a religious pilgrimage, it was a business, funded by the Virginia Company of London, a joint stock company. The investors and the settlers they sent, mostly gentlemen and their servants, were not hoping to build a society. They were hoping to find gold and get rich, fast. Their choice of location was disastrous, a low, swampy peninsula with brackish drinking water, ideal for disease. Furthermore, they had settled in the heart of a powerful and sophisticated Native American empire, the Powhatan Confederacy, a coalition of over 30 tribes led by the shrewd Chief Powhatan. They found no gold. Instead, they found disease, starvation, and conflict. The infamous starving time of 1609 to 1610, a period of famine worsened by a severe drought and a tense siege by the Powhatan, nearly wiped them out. Of the 500 colonists living in Jamestown that fall, only 60 survived the winter.
We have eaten our horses, and the dogs. There is nothing left.
Without Captain Smith's iron discipline to guide us, we have perished.
The colony was saved from total collapse only by the tough, military-style leadership of Captain John Smith, who had explored the region and established tenuous relations with the Powhatan. He imposed a simple, life-saving rule.
He that will not work shall not eat.
But what truly saved Virginia wasn't a person, but a plant. In 1612, John Rolfe cultivated a sweet-tasting Caribbean tobacco that became a wild sensation in Europe. It was the South's first cash crop, an agricultural product so profitable it became known as brown gold and the undisputed king of the Virginia economy. Tobacco was a demanding crop. It exhausted the soil, creating a constant, insatiable hunger for new land, which put the colonists on a direct collision course with their Native American neighbors. This land hunger defined the Southern Colonies, creating a society of scattered large plantations rather than the compact towns of New England. This plantation economy required a massive amount of labor. At first, this need was met by indentured servants, poor English men and women who agreed to work for 4 to 7 years in exchange for passage to America. Life was incredibly harsh and the death rate was staggering. For those who survived, the promise of land often went unfulfilled. But in 1619, a different kind of ship arrived. It brought 20 and odd Africans to Virginia. Their initial status was likely that of indentured servants, but this event marked the beginning of a system that would slowly and deliberately evolve into permanent race-based chattel slavery. Tensions between the wealthy planters and the poor, landless frontiersmen boiled over in 1676 with Bacon's Rebellion. Frustrated by the governor's refusal to protect them from Native American attacks, Nathaniel Bacon united poor white and black laborers in a revolt. The rebellion terrified the planter class, who feared a future uprising of the poor. To divide the laboring class and create a more controllable workforce, they began to pass laws that hardened the lines of slavery, basing it permanently on race and stripping away the rights of all people of African descent. The same pivotal year, 1619, also saw the birth of the Virginia House of Burgesses, the first representative assembly in the American colonies. While only property owning white men could vote, it was a landmark step toward American self government, a tradition the planter class would come to cherish and defend. Unlike Puritan New England, where religion was an intense personal mission, the Southern colonies were predominantly Anglican. The Church of England was the established church, supported by taxes. For the wealthy gentry, the local parish was a center of social and political life, a place to see and be seen, reinforcing the existing social hierarchy and the authority of the planter class. Other Southern colonies soon followed. Maryland was founded in 1632 by Lord Baltimore as a proprietary colony and a safe haven for English Catholics fleeing persecution. His hope was to create a society where Catholics and Protestants could live together in harmony. To protect the Catholic minority from the growing Protestant population, the colony passed the Maryland Act of Toleration in 1649, granting religious freedom to all Trinitarian Christians, a significant, if limited, step toward religious freedom in America. The Carolinas, founded in 1663 by 8 proprietors, began as a single massive colony. However, from the very beginning, the settlement developed into 2 distinct regions with very different economies and societies, making it difficult to govern as one. North Carolina was settled mainly by pioneers from Virginia, creating a society of small, self-sufficient tobacco farms. It lacked a good deep water port, making it more isolated. South Carolina, by contrast, was settled by planters from the Caribbean island of Barbados. They established the excellent port of Charlestown and recreated the brutal, large-scale plantation system they knew, growing immensely wealthy from rice and indigo. These deep economic and cultural differences eventually led to the formal split of the colony in 1712. The cultivation of rice and indigo was brutal work. South Carolina's planters intentionally imported thousands of enslaved people from the rice-growing regions of West Africa, whose agricultural expertise and labor they cruelly exploited to build immense fortunes. By 1730, enslaved people made up 2/3 of South Carolina's population. As the other colonies grew, a new and unique venture was planned. It began with a social crisis in England. At the time, if you couldn't pay your bills, you could be thrown into debtor's prison, horrific places of disease and starvation from which you had no way to earn your freedom. A wealthy philanthropist and member of parliament named James Oglethorpe was appalled by this system. He envisioned a new colony in America as a second chance for the worthy poor, a place where debtors and other working class people could build a new life on small farms, free from the vices of London. But Oglethorpe's charitable vision needed the king's approval, and the British Crown had a more pressing concern: defense. The colony of South Carolina was incredibly wealthy, but it was also vulnerable. Just to the south lay Spanish Florida, a rival empire's military outpost. The Spanish not only launched raids into Carolina, but they also offered freedom to any enslaved person who could escape there, destabilizing the entire plantation economy. Oglethorpe's plan and the Crown's needs aligned perfectly. Oglethorpe saw a haven for the poor. The government saw a buffer zone. They would sponsor a colony of hardworking farmers who could double as a citizen militia, a human shield to protect the immense wealth of South Carolina. This dual purpose, charity and defense, led to the founding of Georgia in 1732. Oglethorpe originally banned slavery, rum, and large land holdings, hoping to create his ideal society. But the colonists, eager for the massive wealth they saw in South Carolina, demanded the rules be changed. By 1751, the ban on slavery was lifted, and Georgia had become another slave based plantation colony. From the initial foothold at Jamestown, driven by dreams of prosperity, the Southern colonies carved out a unique identity within the tapestry of early America. The fertile coastal plains and favorable climate fostered a reliance on large scale agriculture, with expansive plantations becoming characteristic of the landscape. Rivers served as vital arteries of trade, connecting these agrarian centers directly to global markets and shaping a dispersed settlement pattern unlike that of their northern neighbors. Governed by representative assemblies like the Virginia House of Burgesses, a tradition of self rule took root amongst the landowning class. While the Anglican Church held prominence, the Southern colonies also witnessed early experiments in religious tolerance, albeit limited. The diverse motivations behind their founding, from economic ventures to havens for specific religious groups and strategic military buffers, contributed to a complex and evolving regional character. Though distinct from one another and from the northern colonies, the southern settlements collectively laid foundational elements for the nation that would eventually emerge. Hit the subscribe button to join us next time as we explore the key individuals, economic systems, and philosophical ideas that would unite these three distinct regions on the path to revolution.